Most fighter jets are delicate masterpieces, but Sweden built a brute. While rivals rely on fragile proprietary tech, the Volvo RM12 turns a modified American core into a bird-strike-resistant legend of sovereignty. Discover how this industrial workhorse ensures the Gripen C fleet remains unmatched in reliability and strategic independence today. What happens when you marry Volvo's legendary reliability with supersonic performance? You get the RM12, the hidden backbone of Swedish air sovereignty. We're dissecting the unique maintenance cycle and rugged engineering that allows this engine to outlast every competitor. This isn't just a jet engine, it's Sweden's ultimate strategic asset. In a world of shifting alliances, how does Sweden maintain total operational independence? The answer lies inside the RM12 engine. By re-engineering foreign tech into a sovereign powerhouse, Sweden has secured a fleet that outlasts the competition. See why this specific engine remains the irreplaceable guardian of the Swedish skies in 2026. Sweden is famous for building machines that last. Not machines made only for beauty, not machines made only for speed, but machines designed to survive cold mornings, rough roads, long service lives, and unforgiving conditions. That same engineering mindset shaped one of the most important engines in European air defense, the RM12. At its heart, the RM12 came from the American General Electric F404, the same engine family built for the FA-18 Hornet. But Sweden did not simply buy an engine and bolt it into the Gripen. That would not have been enough, because the JAS-39 Gripen was not designed like a normal fighter. It was a single-engine aircraft expected to defend Swedish airspace from dispersed bases, short roads, frozen runways, and rapid turnaround operations. So Volvo Aero took the F404 core and rebuilt it around Swedish survival logic. More reliability, more tolerance, more safety margin, more trust in a single engine. The result was the RM12, not just an imported powerplant, but a hardened Scandinavian version of an already proven American design. Its fan system was strengthened, its control system was modernized, its maintenance philosophy was simplified, and its performance was shaped around one brutal requirement. If a Gripen pilot pushes the throttle forward over the Baltic, that engine must respond without hesitation. This is where Volvo's heritage matters. In automotive engineering, reliability is measured in years, kilometers, temperature swings, and daily punishment. In fighter aviation, reliability is measured in seconds, sometimes milliseconds, because one hesitation at supersonic speed can decide whether a mission survives or fails. The RM12 became the meeting point of both worlds, the durability culture of Swedish industry, the thermal violence of a military turbofan, the precision of American engine architecture, and the harsh reality of Nordic air defense. That combination gave the Gripen something rare, a light fighter with the confidence of a machine built for war, weather, and waiting. And this is why the RM12 is more than an engine. It became the foundation of the Gripen's reputation, a fighter known not only for speed, but for availability, low operating cost, and the ability to keep flying when conditions are far from perfect. In Sweden's defense strategy, air sovereignty does not depend only on missiles, radars, or pilots. It also depends on one thing hidden deep inside the aircraft, an engine that starts, accelerates, survives, and comes back ready to fly again. That is the Volvo heritage of performance, and that is where the RM12 story truly begins. The RM12 was not built for a peaceful sky. It was built for the north, for cold air, for low-level flights over forests, coastlines, and the Baltic Sea, for short runways, fast reaction times, and the constant risk of operating close to nature. And in that environment, one threat does not come from missiles or radar. It comes from birds. For a single-engine fighter, a bird strike is not a small problem. It can become a life-or-death event in seconds. That is why Volvo Aero did not treat the RM12 like a normal F404 derivative. They redesigned critical parts of the engine around the reality of Swedish operations. The first fan stage was made tougher. The blades were designed to absorb impact instead of breaking apart. The airflow system was refined to keep the engine stable in demanding flight conditions. The goal was simple but brutal. If the Gripen hits a bird during a low-level sortie, the engine must not destroy itself. This is where the RM12 became different from its American baseline. The original F404 was already a strong and respected engine, but the Gripen was a different aircraft with a different risk profile. Unlike twin-engine fighters, the Gripen had only one engine. That meant Sweden had no room for casual engineering. Every weak point had to be questioned. Every control path needed backup. Every failure mode had to be reduced. So the RM12 received single-engine safety features, including digital engine control with backup systems and redundant ignition.
GE's own RM12 datasheet describes it as having FADEC with hydromechanical backup and redundant ignition, while Saab states that Gripen has flown more than 300,000 hours without engine-related accidents. That record matters, because air sovereignty is not only about having advanced fighters on paper, it is about whether those fighters can launch, return, refuel, repair, and launch again when pressure rises. The RM12 gave Sweden confidence in a single-engine fighter because it was not treated as a fragile imported component. It was localized, strengthened, understood, and maintained by Swedish industry. And that brings us to the deeper strategic point. Physical toughness is only the first layer. In a real crisis, the question is not just, can the engine survive a bird strike? The bigger question is, can the nation keep that engine flying when global supply chains are disrupted? That is where the RM12 becomes more than metal, blades, fuel, and heat. It becomes a sovereignty tool, because Sweden's defense model depends on independence, dispersed operations, fast maintenance, domestic expertise, a fighter fleet that can keep moving even when the world outside becomes unstable. And in 2026, that logic is still alive. GKN Aerospace delivered the first upgraded RM12 EP engine to the Swedish Armed Forces under an enhanced performance program designed to increase thrust, endurance, and operating efficiency for the Gripen C fleet. So the RM12 was not only built for performance, it was built for survival. Survival against impact, survival against weather, survival against mechanical stress, and survival against dependence. That is why the RM12 remains central to Swedish air power, because in the Nordic threat environment, the best engine is not the one that sounds the most powerful on a brochure. It is the one that keeps working when the mission becomes unforgiving. A fighter jet is not truly sovereign if its engine cannot be maintained at home. It may fly under a national flag, it may carry national markings, it may protect national airspace, but if every deep repair, every critical inspection, and every certification depends on foreign permission, then the aircraft is only partly independent. Sweden understood this early. That is why the RM12 story does not end in the sky. It continues on the ground, inside workshops, test cells, engineering offices, and maintenance facilities in Trollhättan. This is the Trollhättan advantage. GKN Aerospace in Sweden holds the type certificate for the RM12 and remains responsible for the engine's development, manufacturing, system support, and maintenance for the Gripen C fleet. The first upgraded RM12 EP engine was delivered to the Swedish Armed Forces on 24 March 2026, with the upgrade work centered around Trollhättan. That may sound like a technical detail, but in defense terms, it is strategic power. Because when a crisis begins, aircraft do not fail only because of enemy action. They fail because of waiting. Waiting for parts, waiting for software approval, waiting for depot slots, waiting for a foreign contractor to unlock the next step. Modern fifth-generation stealth fighters are extraordinary machines, but many of them operate through deeply controlled sustainment ecosystems, complex supply chains, proprietary systems, and contractor-heavy maintenance models. The U.S. Government Accountability Office has repeatedly reported that F-35 sustainment has faced spare parts shortages, depot repair delays, and mission-capable rate challenges.
Sweden chose a different philosophy with Gripen.
The Gripen was not designed to be a showroom fighter. It was designed to be kept alive by a smaller nation under pressure. That is why the RM12's maintenance architecture matters. It is not just about repairing an engine. It is about knowing the engine, owning the technical authority, training the people, keeping the test capability, and making sure the aircraft can return to service without being trapped inside a global logistics bottleneck. This is where the RM12 becomes a fortress, not because it is impossible to damage, but because Sweden built the knowledge base to bring it back, strip it, inspect it, repair it, certify it, return it to the fleet. That cycle is the hidden heartbeat of air sovereignty. And for the Gripen C, this independence is not old news. It is being extended. The RM12 EP upgrade includes improved turbine hardware and updated engine control software designed to increase thrust, extend operating time, and reduce lifecycle costs for Sweden's Gripen C fleet. This tells us something important. Sweden is not keeping the RM12 alive because it has no choice. Sweden is keeping it alive because it still fits the national defense model. A fighter that can operate from dispersed bases. A fighter that can be serviced quickly. A fighter whose engine is understood by domestic industry. A fighter that does not become useless the moment a foreign supply chain slows down. That is the real strength of the RM12. Not just thrust, not just durability, not just the reputation of the Gripen, but control. In modern air combat, the aircraft that wins is not always the one with the most advanced brochure. Sometimes it is the one that can fly again tomorrow, and then again the next day, and then again when the pressure rises, the supply chain tightens, and the Air Force cannot afford excuses. That is why Trollhättan matters. It is not just a maintenance site. It is the engine room of Swedish independence. And as long as the Gripen C remains part of Sweden's defensive shield, the RM12 remains more than a power plant. It remains a sovereign asset.
The RM12 did not survive into 2026 because Sweden refused to move forward. It survived because Sweden found a smarter way to move forward. In modern air power, sustainability does not only mean fuel efficiency or lower cost. It means keeping a combat aircraft relevant without tearing the entire machine apart. It means extracting more life, more thrust, and more readiness from a system that already has decades of trust behind it. And that is exactly what Sweden has done with the RM12. Publicly confirmed details show that GKN Aerospace delivered the first upgraded RM12 engine to the Swedish Armed Forces on 24 March 2026 under the RM12 EP Enhanced Performance Program. The upgrade includes improved turbine hardware and updated engine control software designed to increase thrust, extend operating time, and reduce lifecycle costs for the Gripen C fleet. This is the quiet revolution, not a dramatic new airframe, not a billion-dollar replacement, not a complete redesign. Instead, Sweden is upgrading the brain and the hot section of an engine it already understands. The RM12 is being pushed forward through digital control, smarter monitoring, and maintenance built around actual engine stress rather than guesswork. GKN states that it has developed a system to monitor the real load on each critical RM12 part, allowing maintenance schedules to be optimized, time on wing to be extended, and operational costs to be reduced. That matters because every fighter engine has a hidden clock inside it. Every takeoff, every afterburner run, every hard maneuver, every temperature spike, all of it consumes life. Older maintenance systems treated that life like a fixed number, but digital sustainment changes the equation. Instead of retiring parts too early or risking them too late, Sweden can track how the engine is actually being used. That is how an old engine becomes a modern asset. And the RM12 EP takes this one step further. Its updated control software allows the engine to deliver better performance without demanding a completely new physical design. This is not magic, it is software-defined refinement, controlling fuel flow, temperature margins, engine response, and operating limits with greater precision.
In simple words, Sweden is not trying to turn the RM12 into something it is not. It is making the RM12 the best version of what it already is: a reliable engine, a known engine, a domestic engine, a power plant Sweden can upgrade, monitor, maintain, and trust. This is why the Gripen CD is still central to Swedish planning. Saab previously said the Gripen CD upgrade program is meant to preserve high capability and availability up to 2035, and in 2025, Saab received a further SEK $4 billion support and maintenance order for Gripen CD and E, with deliveries from 2026 to 2027 and options extending support until 2029. That tells us something important. The Gripen CD is not being kept alive as a museum piece, it is being kept alive as a ready force. Because Sweden cannot afford a capability gap, not in the Baltic region, not with NATO responsibilities, not while European air forces are watching every spare part, every production delay, and every maintenance bottleneck. And the geopolitical pressure is growing. In May 2026, Reuters reported that Ukraine and Sweden were still advancing talks around a possible Gripen fighter deal, showing how the aircraft has become part of a much larger European security conversation. So the RM12's future is not just about engineering, it is about timing. A nation does not retire its most reliable sword in the middle of uncertainty. It sharpens it, it instruments it, it upgrades the software, it extends the life, and it keeps it ready. That is the sustainability story of the RM12. Not sustainability as a slogan, sustainability as survival. The engine that once gave Gripen its confidence is now being digitally evolved to keep that confidence alive. And in Sweden's air defense strategy, that may be the most important upgrade of all. Not replacing what works too early, but making what works last longer, hit harder, and return ready for the next mission. In modern air defense, power is not only about speed or advanced technology, it is about readiness. A fighter is valuable only if it can fly often, return safely, and be prepared for the next mission without draining the entire defense budget. That is why the RM12 still matters. The Gripen CD is known for low operating cost and high availability, and the RM12 is a major part of that reputation. It is not the newest engine in Europe, but it is one of the most trusted. While modern fifth-generation fighters face complex maintenance systems, high costs, software issues, and supply chain delays, the RM12 gives Sweden something priceless: confidence. It is the reliable veteran inside the Gripen. When newer platforms are still dealing with development problems, parts shortages, or expensive maintenance cycles, the RM12-powered Gripen CD can continue doing what Sweden needs most: protecting the airspace today. This engine has already proven itself through decades of service, harsh Nordic conditions, and thousands of operational flying hours. It is familiar to Swedish engineers, maintainers, and pilots. That familiarity becomes a strategic advantage in crisis. Because in war or regional tension, the best aircraft is not always the most advanced one, it is the one that is ready. For Sweden, the RM12 is more than a power plant, it is an insurance policy. It keeps the Gripen CD fleet relevant while Sweden modernizes. It protects against overdependence on foreign supply chains. It allows the Air Force to maintain strength without waiting for future systems to mature. And in an increasingly unstable Europe, that reliability is not outdated, it is survival. The RM12 remains Sweden's quiet shield, not because it is the most glamorous engine in the world, but because when the alarm sounds, it works. And sometimes, national sovereignty depends on exactly that. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe my channel for new updates.